As leader of Asto and the most influential person at Gamra, Ezia Pillai was not known to show a lot of emotion, but his face oozed curiosity as he walked around the aircraft. We were on the roof of the second tallest building in 8th Circle in Athil, under the overhang of the awning that sheltered the entrance of my brand-new office apartment. Emmy wriggled in my arms. She wanted to play with this visitor and was getting bothered about my not letting her. But it was midday. The light of Asto's 2 suns beat down on the roof, and the paving radiated heat. I was sure it was hot enough to leave nice burn marks on Emmy's unblemished 8-month-old skin. Not that she was receptive to that argument. The glaring light reflected off the surface of the 2 aircraft that basked in the sunlight. One of them the familiar Asto-built craft that Ezia used so often. In fact, I now knew exactly where it had been built and by whom, because I'd visited the workshop, walked around their models, sat in their pilot seats and spoken to their sales assistants. The second craft, the subject of Ezia's curiosity, was a brand-new gleaming craft that had been built in Denmark and delivered to the apartment yesterday by 2 employees in spiffy uniforms who had polished it to its current gleaming state on arrival. It was the same size as Ezia's, which was considered large by private craft standards, but had an elegant ground-hugging shape that made it look smaller. Its surface shimmered with a bronze sheen, overlaid with a green-tinged clear resin like lacquer. The windows were darkened now to allow for more efficient cooling, but could be made lighter at night or when in orbit. It carried 16 people with ease, and a few more as long as they didn't need to sleep on board. It was mine. Ezia was as fascinated as a 10-year-old boy. He'd bounded from his craft and had gone straight to this one. He walked around it several times, looking into the window and into the propulsion outlets. He studied the Demarkian text on the recharge panel and lifted the cover to the tube where you dropped charged pearls so that they rolled into the reservoir. He now looked over the wing of the craft to me. "Interesting choice," he said. "I'm wondering why you made it." I bet he thought that we should have chosen a locally built craft like his. We weighed up all the possibilities, and this was the best option. Initially, I too had assumed that we would get a craft that had been built in Asto. They were reliable, easy to fix, not terribly expensive, and offered jobs and business to the local people, a good all-round solution. But when we started looking at all the situations where we would use the craft, I didn't think a standard model would do the job. And while Ezia's craft was pretty and definitely not bog standard, it still battled the same design restrictions. The Asto craft were not known to be good at cold temperatures. While Barresh was hot and humid, most of Ceren was not. Asto-built craft had issues travelling to Miran, where it was very cold. Moreover, when the Tamer Collective got off the ground with their secondary exchange, I'd be travelling to Tamer. I did not want to do that while leaving the ability to get back off that damned snowball in the hands of a machine that required blasting hot air onto the engines. Hot air that I would have to carry aboard that craft, not to mention the fuel for it too. I wanted a craft that would handle those temperatures. Barresh, where we lived most of the year, was surrounded by marshland and water. Asto craft could land on water, in the hands of a skilled pilot. I didn't judge my developing skills in piloting anywhere near skilled enough to attempt a water landing. Denmark-built craft glided over water like a boat. It was an amazing thing to behold. They didn't need engine heating for cold starts, and the internal control module, considered fairly clunky by snobbish pilots, had enough spare room to add in whatever equipment we were going to need when the second exchange came online, and we'd need 2 sets of exchange trackers. The craft was bigger and more cumbersome than I had wanted. It was more expensive.